You are listening to Offensive Lines with Marlon and Boyd. Small stakes NFL gambling for the average fan.
Welcome to Offensive Lines. I'm Marlon.
I'm Boyd.
And, well, the long off-season begins here.
Off-season podcast numero uno.
That's right. And I'm going to keep track of these numbers this time.
No, you won't. You say that now.
I'll try.
There's 2 weeks in between podcasts now. Might be an issue.
I'll buy a new notebook. I'll notate each one. So, I think it's going to be, there's lots of stuff going on. We got 3 good topics to touch on tonight.
Yeah, check our website for the other stories that are going on. I usually have links to the biggest ones happening. Because some of the ones we tossed around won't get talked about, like Shady.
No, though that one we'll talk about in the future.
Johnny, Shady. I just have to say this, though. Manziel's taking inspirational tweets from Charlie Sheen now, so he's in good hands.
What could go wrong?
All right, let's dive into this. I got a hockey game to go to tomorrow night.
Sounds good. Okay. First thing I wanted to bring up was the NFL as an organization continues to show its class. I think now we know why they were so happy to see Haslam as an owner. They figured he could teach them new ways to defraud their customers.
Unfucking-believable.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, the NFL Players Association noticed a discrepancy in accounting where over $100 million of revenue was taken outside and declared essentially not revenue by the NFL teams, so it didn't go into the salary cap computation. And this means $50 million is the number I've heard, was taken away from the players, essentially. The NFLPA took it to an arbitrator who didn't even wait to examine the data. He just said, the NFL is in the wrong.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you have a monopoly. There's no penalty to them.
Well, yeah, Pro Football Talk brought that up, and it's just the NFL is going to keep trying this shit, and if they get away with 1 in 10, it's still there, because there is, exactly as you say, no penalty.
Yeah, it's like cocaine coming in from fucking Mexico or Colombia. It's just, okay, if one gets picked off here and there, so what? We're still sneaking 8 things by them, and see, that's why whenever there's a dispute between ownership and labor in pro sports, I don't care how ludicrous it seems the demands of the players are, I always go on the side of the players.
Yes.
Because the owners are fucking scumbag, douchebag losers. They didn't get to be billionaires by fucking being fair. That's how it works. If you try and do the right thing, you very rarely make as much money as the guy that's fucking stepping on every hand, that's on every rung of the ladder as he climbs his way to the fucking top.
And they'll still probably win, if you know what I mean, in the next CBA, because the problem with the Players Association is so many of these players are living paycheck to paycheck, as big as those paychecks are. And they cannot entrench themselves successfully for a long war.
Well, and it's bleeding its way into other sports now, too. I saw on Twitter tonight, and this isn't too far off topic, but do you remember Eddie Belfour?
Yeah.
Goalie?
Yeah.
Sold his fucking Stanley Cup ring already. He's been retired, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah. It hasn't been long.
And he made fucking boatloads of money. Not like they are now, but he had to make 30, 40 million in his career easy. Broke. So, and the NFL is the worst for the union. They have the weakest union because the players don't have any bankroll when it comes time for labor negotiations. Remember back to Vince Young? And that whole lawsuit he had where I didn't sign off on borrowing against my contract for the lockout. He was broke.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Amazing, amazing. And along those lines, when we're talking about the NFL and money, Roger Goodell salary became public again, or they announced how much he earned for
the
2015.
last time. For the very last time, because they've now removed their classification as a non-profit organization. So this information, this is the very last time we will see what he makes.
He made $34 million. This is the equivalent of every CEO at every company who gets more and more money as they try and squeeze more and more from their employees. So he's being rewarded for these fucking accounting errors and all the other shit he's doing to fuck the players. It's the whole idea that you have a fucking commissioner in this day and age instead of an independent outside force handling all this shit is ludicrous. If the players had a backbone, they'd set up some kind of board stocked with people from each side for this kind of shit.
Yeah, but they don't
because that
have
money's
the power
coming directly out of their fucking piece of the pie. The owners aren't fucking paying them.
Oh, I know. And it affects all teams, all players. You know, what did I see? I saw a tweet that said something like Goodell's compensation over the last 4 years is $150 million. Let's compare that to Tom Brady. You know,
yeah.
It's...
And they're paying Goodell that money because he wields his fucking huge stick. ESPN told their anchors not to talk about the Peyton Manning issue that was brought up from fucking 15 years ago where he mooned a trainer. They were told not to discuss it on air. Well, is it a news story? It is, albeit 15 years old. Does it have any bearing on what happened in the playoffs? No. But every other outlet is reporting on it. Why is ESPN not reporting on it? Because the NFL said not to. Same reason. Everybody thought Nance wasn't talking about Manning and HGH because the league, or he didn't want to because him and Manning share the same agent. It's the league. When they want to go after somebody, Brady and the Patriots as an example, it's fucking full steam ahead. And that's why I've always defended the Patriots, and you get pissed off.
Yeah.
And take the other side, is because it's a double standard. Everybody's trying to do the same thing to win games. They'll do whatever they can to get an advantage. But the Patriots are the only ones that get singled out.
Well, they weren't singled out originally. This is the pendulum swinging back, right? That's why they attacked it so hard in this time. You can't say they were singled out when they burned the tapes. You know, this was a makeup for fucking up that so wildly, which is exactly what you're describing that they want to do to everything, and you're correct.
But every team's trying to get an edge. The players are trying to get an edge. They'll talk about the players fucking all day, for the most part, unless it's something they don't want out. Oh, let's bury this. And then they put the fucking orders down. Well, you guys want the TV rights for this? Just keep your mouth shut.
Well, yeah, and the most critical thing ESPN has done recently was their long piece about how it was awarded to Cranky, the LA thing. And I suspect the only reason that saw the light of day was that the chairman of Disney was backing the Chargers in that fight and lost.
Yep.
If people don't realize, Disney owns ESPN. So, yeah, I could see the fingers in that pie, too. But I never watch ESPN or rarely go to the website. I'll read Barnwell, and that's about it. So I didn't even realize they were avoiding this whole Manning thing.
Oh, yeah, they sent out a memo to their anchors to not discuss it on the air. Because if anybody watches First Take with fucking Stephen A. Smith and, what the fuck's his name? The white Skip Bayless. This would be right. They'd scream on this for fucking 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. Well, Smith is a buffoon. He's just
no,
trying.
Skip Bayless is fucking just as bad. I tried watching it when I was in Florida in October. It's like watching two kids have a discussion. You know how I got so pissed off when we were doing the ifs and buts and the hypothetical argument we had?
We both
That's
did.
their whole fucking show. No, but that's their whole fucking show.
Yeah, that's us
every
once every
day.
4 years.
That's their whole show. And it was like, I can't even watch it. So...
But yeah, every little thing that comes out reveals that there are no depths to which the NFL will not sink. And there's sort of a relationship to that in our next topic. But let's start with the fun stuff, because I don't really know much about Gronk's party cruise, except that if I were 20 years younger, it would be a fun place to be.
Oh, well, here's the opening thing. Like, it was billed as Gronk's party cruise, right?
Yeah.
Well, then the stories started coming out that they only sold... It was a regular cruise open to everybody. Gronk's portion of the cruise was only 700 people. The boat holds 2,600. He managed to get 700 people on the cruise. When it was billed as like this was going to be his ship... And it would have been if he could have sold it out, but they just opened it up to the general public who had no idea they were getting on Gronk's party cruise.
Oh, okay.
So, and I guess it was such a shit show on that boat that they're never doing it again on that boat. The Princess of the Pearl will never be hosting the Gronk party cruise again. I was telling you before we started, and if anybody out there is a fan of it's Sam Roberts' show on Sirius XM. He has a DJ guest, DJ Who Kid. He was the main DJ on the party boat for Gronk. He said somebody took a shit on the pool deck and left a $20 bill on top of it. Apparently for cleanup charge.
Well, I guess that's a step in the right direction.
Allegedly, there was a woman on board who tried to blow everybody that was associated or in any way, shape, or form with Gronk's part of the cruise. She lost her voice from giving too much head. And he wouldn't even go. He said there was other celebrities on the boat, other NFL players on the boat that he wouldn't talk about. There was pro wrestlers on the boat. And he said he wouldn't snitch them out because they all have careers still. But it was just, I guess, he said athletes and wrestlers, he said, party way more than rappers, and he goes, they're fucking crazy. And this guy tours with 50 Cent, Eminem. He said he goes, I'm glad to be back on dry land. This was like a 3 or 4 day cruise. He said Gronk wasn't out of control. He likes to party. But he says he got, when you sign up Gronk for one of these events, because Gronk didn't do this by himself. They approached him to set it up to try and sell tickets, right, for the boat. He came on, when you sign up Gronk for one of these, you're paying for his lawyer, too. His lawyer was on the boat with him to keep him out of trouble, along with his father, a couple of his brothers. They were all there to make sure he didn't get out of hand. So you see the video I've posted on the website of him dancing on stage and doing shit on the boat.
Yeah,
but he
that's
never
almost
got
like
out
his
of control.
act at that stage, right? That's what they're paying him for.
He still likes to drink. He still likes to drink.
But he said openly, and I think intelligently, that he lives off his appearance fees right now. His football money goes in the bank. That's actually a pretty smart way to approach it when you're known as such a character as he is.
Yeah. Well, he's marketed himself really well. But the interesting part here is, what about all these other guys? Like, okay, Manziel got into some shit, but before he, well, here's the difference. Gronk never shows up to practice drunk. He's never had issues with his partying affecting his performance, and I don't think he parties that much, to be honest. He goes out in the off-season, does some appearances to keep his image alive that he's the party guy, gets paid for it, and shows up for work. And during the season, do you ever see him out partying during the season? There's none of these videos or him at the bar or the club or wherever. No stories during the season. That's the difference. Yeah, he's not on IR in Vegas.
And no stories when he has been injured either. When he's in rehab, he's pretty much invisible.
Yeah.
He
doesn't get into the shit.
And as you said, with the lawyer, they're selling him as an act.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think... I mean, yeah, I think you're right. He still drinks. He likes to have a good time, and fine with him. But events like this, I think, are not where he chooses to really party.
No, like they knew. There was reporters, a whole bunch of media outlets sent reporters on the cruise to try and catch something. And nothing came out other than him dancing and acting like a fool. So he can't be blamed for what other people do on the boat. That's where it's the genius of this. He probably made a shitload of money for doing it, and he took no risk, really, because he's not the one serving the booze. He's not the one doing anything. It just has his name. It's no different than, do you think if something happened at a club in Vegas that Kim Kardashian was the entertainment or the draw, that she could get into any shit if something went wrong? No. It's just her name promoting the party.
No, but this will be an interesting test to see if the events he chooses to put his name to cause problems, whether the NFL will target him.
Yeah, but there's nothing... you're... alluding to the fact that there was a casino on board.
Yeah, I'm sort of alluding to, Romo, NFL Network employees, a whole bunch of people last year were associated with a fantasy football event. The NFL shut it down, and their excuse was that this was adjacent to a casino, that it was on the same property as a casino, as was this. Which brings up, okay, why was this event associated with Gronkowski not shut down on the same principle?
Easy answer. NFL is in bed with a fantasy football site. I can't remember which one. It's DraftKings or what's the other one?
FanDuel.
It's one. They're in bed with one of those two. They've invested money in. So they can't have any competition from the players making money off it because they have an exclusive agreement with one of these sites.
Well, and they ultimately want to control it. They're not against gambling per se, because I can believe that anyone would argue that this, daily fantasy sports is anything but gambling. They're not against gambling. They're against not getting a big chunk of the fucking money from it.
Well, they signed a deal with a gambling company out of England to provide them with the real-time numbers, the streaming numbers that come up. Not on TV broadcast, but online. It's a gambling company out of England that's supplying those numbers now. So...
And I think our position on this is pretty obvious. We both think that if you're worried about gambling in fact affecting the integrity of this sport, the best way to do it is make it legal and available, because the bookies will do a hell of a lot better job of preventing improprieties than
they're the ones that
pretending it
inform
doesn't
the leagues.
happen. Yeah.
That if there's fixing going on, if there's too much... Because there was what
on
the fuck
Vice?
was it? Well, there was a
an
tennis
article
match
on
recently
Vice about a company that specifically gets data from a whole bunch of betting sites and then have it tuned to try to look for strange imbalances in the action.
Yeah.
And you see, that's the way it should be approached, because obviously if you're taking action, you're the one losing there. No one else is, right? So who would be better at policing that than the people who are most at risk?
The online gaming sites and the casinos don't want to get ripped off by a match being fixed.
Yes.
So when they see an irregular bet on something that usually doesn't get that much action... Like, say Jacksonville's playing Tennessee.
Yeah.
A game that wouldn't garner a lot of big money being spent unless the line was totally out of whack and could be exploited. And they see all of a sudden all this money coming in on one side or the other. They may notify the league that something seems off and that the league would investigate it. It happened in tennis a month ago or so. It was a no-names doubles match at some shitty tournament.
Oh, that's what gets fixed. That and friendly soccer matches, like essentially exhibitions. Those are the ones they find this happening in.
Yeah.
It's not MLB, NBA, NFL, none of this stuff.
See, tennis I get. I don't know how you do soccer.
Well,
like, how do you
it's such
get to 11
shit teams. I'll try to look it up. It was on Vice Sports. There was a long article about it, and they get down specifically to one team out of London originally. Then they moved to Australia and continued to do the same thing. I'll try to hunt that up next time I get a chance. I'll send you a link, and you can maybe post that on the site.
Yeah,
because it's a good article.
I just don't know how you can get a team to fix a game. But sometimes it involves the referees, and
sometimes it involves the referees. But a lot of it are these friendlies, right, as they call the exhibitions. So the players don't give a fuck. And we're talking, it would be single-A baseball level stuff at best where it happens. But there's still action, and those are the matches that are fixed. So
I can't see it ever getting to, like in football, I don't know what they're worried about. You got 53 guys on a team. I guess you could, if you're a running back, you could fumble, or quarterback. The quarterbacks and the running backs are probably the most susceptible to it.
Kickers.
If it was to ever happen. Because they control the ball.
But, I mean, that wouldn't be where I'd spend my money trying to fix, because, they would have to do so much to change it. Like, we've seen complete disasters and the team still wins, right? It's by no means a sure thing.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, you can't... There's too many variables in play in football. Baseball, maybe. A pitcher... Hockey, I can't see it unless it's the goalie. Because you can't...
Yeah, the more integrated the team is, the harder it would be, right? Again, with the exception of soccer, and only in those circumstances I've described.
Yeah.
So, but it's just, I wanted to bring up the Romo thing about the Gronk just to show once again that it's good to know Goodel and the NFL are looking out for the integrity of the game.
Oh, it's terrible. It's so hard to like the NFL when it's not on.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to end up being a theme of all of our off-season podcasts, is just, once again, it'll be about NFL evil. This is off topic a bit too, but I was listening to Arian Foster on Rappaport's podcast.
Okay.
Really good episode, by the way. But he was just describing that after a 25 or 30 carry game, he can't even run at full speed on the Thursday. To have a game that night, like he was just livid, he was saying, and they talk about player safety.
Oh no, my sister's seen Eddie George after a game. Back when he was in his heyday and Fisher was giving it to him 30 times a game, he had trouble walking up the stairs the night of the game.
Yeah. And like
needed help
Foster
going
says,
up
he
the
can
stairs.
go at about 3/4 speed on the Thursday if it's a regular week. And that's after I guess it's less common now, but he said that was after a 25 to 30 carry game.
Yeah.
All right. And if the NFL wasn't enough lined up against the players, sometimes they buy vans full of fireworks.
Oh, JPP.
And I'm completely with him on the topic we're going with here.
Me too. I'm on his side in this. Jason Pierre-Paul is suing ESPN and Adam Schefter for posting his leaked medical information. He's already sued the hospital that performed the surgeries on his hand for releasing the information. And now he's suing Schefter and ESPN because Schefter posted it on his Twitter account, which is a huge invasion of privacy, and I think this will be settled outside of court quietly for a large sum of money.
Well, here's the interesting thing. He's only asking for $15,000. I think he's trying to make the point. Like, the damages he's asking for, what I read was $15,000.
That's it?
Yeah. I don't think he's going for huge damages. He's just trying to make the point, why are you vultures paying people to look into my private business? And if that is the case, if what I read was correct, I like it even more. And just fuck the settlement.
There's more. There's got to be more to it than that. Gotta be. What? They're not going to stop doing it. If you don't make an example, they're not going to stop. The 15,000 isn't. What's the deterrent from everybody else releasing? And Schefter's excuse was, "Oh, we release medical information about players all the time. It's part of our job." Yeah, but that's when it's released by the team.
Yeah, that's within the context of acceptable public interest. That's not...
Well, it's an NFL rule. They report on what the NFL gives them. The teams have to give information. And going back to the gambling is the only reason they have to do that.
Yep.
The injury reports are only for the gamblers. Fucking Joe Fan doesn't know if the second string center's got a fucking pulled hammy. He doesn't give a fuck. That's for Vegas. So that, I think, is bullshit. What doctor's trying to peddle to protect himself. Because this is personal, private information. Not if he busted his hand up and was having surgery playing football, good on him. They'd get updates from the team all the time. Happens in his private life, it's private. His medical history is private. Like the Giants can't release if he's got herpes. I'm not saying he does, but they can't release that. It's football-related injuries. And
Peyton Manning's hiding behind the privacy of his wife's medical records correctly, on principle.
Good point.
Though, I tend to think that's bullshit, but, on this principle, and I have to agree, his wife's medical records are nobody's goddamn business.
No. Do I think he was using them? Yes.
Yeah, but
he doesn't have to open up his wife's medical records to prove otherwise.
No.
So, and then on the Manning thing, now there's stories coming out he's a cheater and they're swingers and she cheats, and it's just fuck it. Where was this shit when I hated him the most? Like a decade ago. When nobody could stop him. Where the fuck was all this shit? It's all coming out now. I can't even use it.
No.
There's no ammo. He's done. Who's going to use it? There's nobody going to be chanting it and having signs at the stadium? Damn it. Well, if he ends up in Tennessee in a front office job, I'm going to puke.
Well, he's going to end up in some front office job.
Yeah.
Especially after he's seeing the glory that Elway, I think rightfully is being given for his management job of the Broncos.
Yeah, but the ex-player as a management head has worked out about 1 in 100.
If it's even 1 in 100.
But they keep plugging them in.
Well, we got Ozzie Newsome and Elway. That's the only two off the top of my head.
And you had Matt Millen, who's a flaming pile of dog shit.
Well, he really defined flaming pile of dog shit.
Yeah. And then he joked about it. What fucking game was that? Was on a Sunday game or something. I tried my hand at and he apologized to Lions fans or some fucking. It was hilarious.
Oh, Mitch just went ballistic when he was on air.
So, I don't know how Manning works out. Usually, the guys that are the best players don't make. It's usually the journeyman players make the best because they had to think more of the game. Their skills didn't overcome their inefficiencies. From game tape or studying or their mental capacities, the physical could overcome it. Or they saw the game totally different than everybody else, and it doesn't. Not everybody sees the game the same way. It's why Magic Johnson couldn't coach. Wayne Gretzky didn't succeed as a coach. It's just you expect the same out of people below you of what you accomplished, and they don't realize, well, you're a generational player.
Yeah, the great ones, it's very tough to find you again. Which, to give Elway credit again, it was his recognition that it was a much better defense and a running game that finally won him 2 Super Bowls. And that's what he tried to replicate.
Yeah. And now we'll see that copied again.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to try and build the next great defense because it shuts down everybody's ordinary against a good defense. Pass rush specifically. Every quarterback looks normal against a good pass rush. Doesn't matter how good you are. And then we have the flip side. Blaine Gabbert looks like an all-pro when he has time to throw.
Yeah. That's what advanced metrics tell us anyway.
Yeah. In practice, he makes all the throws. No pressure. Yeah. It's like you watch the guys in the NBA warm up before the game. They hit every fucking 3. Uncontested. And you got a guy running at you. Yeah, it's a little different. Maybe. I guess that's why they played a game, right? Fuck.
Well, yeah, that's the same thing in horse racing too. Those morning workouts. They look really fast, alone running around a track.
Yep. Yeah, we got to do that again too.
Yeah, but
get some gambling fix in somehow, some way.
Yeah, I bet on golf this fucking week, so I need something. But
well, I bet on the UFC just before we started the podcast.
We may have a problem. Okay. So,
it was only $1 though.
Oh, I know. I bet a total of $5, so I'm just gone crazy. Anyway, so in 2 weeks, maybe let's take a look at the state of our two teams, unless something
that sounds good.
Really compelling comes up.
Yeah, we'll be through the scouting combine and all that shit. And I don't know what the Titans are doing, just a little tease. I don't know what they're doing. They're floating stories that they might trade the pick. They might not, might keep it. The only thing Malarkey said today, yeah, we're not drafting a quarterback. Ha, ha, ha. That counts for humor at NFL press conferences.
Actually, for NFL press conferences, it's almost funny. Okay.
All right. If you want to check out our podcast, you can listen to it on iTunes or Stitcher for your Android device, on our website, offensivelines.ca. Follow us on Twitter at offensivelines for any updates to our blog posts or when a new podcast is available. Our personal Twitter accounts at OLinesMarlon or at OLinesBoyd. Facebook.com/offensivelines. And if you want to send us an email, it's offensivelines@shaw.ca. I'm Boyd.
I'm Marlon. And that was Off-Season Podcast number 1.
Good for you. We'll see if you can get it right in 2 weeks.
Generous fucking gambler.